First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody who has decided to join this little soiree. Getting started, the first thing that we really have to kind of face is that we have access points right now. Rotary International kind of get thrown for a loop. Usually we have meetings, that are traditional meetings. We have speakers that connect with a small audience, and our Rotary International and local club initiatives are within that kind of group. Well, all that changed because of COVID, right? And now we have a new normal. Whether we want to or not, we're either not meeting or we're doing it via Zoom. And I think it's important to kind of recognize that, those meetings are being recorded. They have the ability, if you want to post them on Facebook or YouTube or Vimeo or however you want to do it, to kind of spread. It allows speakers as well, the people that you have, to kind of connect with a larger audience. And, that means that those things are limitless. When I joined Rotary a few years ago, I didn't actually know what it was all about. And I was in my 40s. And I think some of that is that if you're not somebody that has initially been part of the community or had that discussion, you really don't know what value it brings. And by, kind of growing this, we do more for our community. One of the things that kind of, shocked me was recently I was on a Facebook post, and somebody had mentioned something about homeless backpacks. And somebody had put a snarky comment, and they were a city council person, that backpacks need homes, thinking it's a joke, not realizing that it's an organization that Rotary International helps, that helps feed 700 kids a week in the school system that are homeless. That's some of the reach that we have if we keep getting out there to more and more people. But we have to get to where the people are. And a lot of times they're not at traditional media anymore. If you notice, newspapers are shrinking, TV is shrinking, digital is allowing us to kind of grow everything you want. And when you think of Rotary International, of course, you think of vaccines. So COVID-19 is a perfect example of a situation that maybe Rotarians can be a part of. But at the same time, I've had discussions with people. I had one woman last year that questioned what Rotarianism was. I said, well, they, even you look at polio, they've helped cure polio, and they're doing it twice. And her comment was, well, I just Googled it, and there's only 9 cases of polio, so you're obviously not that important. That's the problem with it, is they only see statistically what they see at the moment, not what they can see, because basically the impact of it being fought on the front lines internationally for decades. And I think it's important. And so by using Facebook and YouTube, especially, maybe a little bit of Instagram, you're going to be able to grow your audiences. So live streaming to me is something that we've been consistently doing with Gateway Rotary out of Lacey since 2018. We get about 200 to 300 views weekly on Facebook. Not all of these people are Rotarians. They happen to see our page, they scroll by it, maybe they see something of interest. It matters. It not only grows our Facebook, but it also allows members who cannot attend meetings to engage through comments. We had 2 members who were going through chemo. They couldn't attend. And here, this allowed them to, feel they were a part of it. I had one person that had business on the other side of the state. It allowed him to still be a part of kind of that fellowship. Our president waves at the camera, says hello to all of them, makes them feel like they're a part of it. And then our subject matter of our main presentation does matter. And that's how we get more of our community involved. Even those who maybe take a random interest, we still gain traction. We have a format for live streaming, and that's a president introduction, a vice president introduction of the main speaker. With Zoom, we also do a clarity right before that we are recording this, and this can be spread out, and you can have people that actually see it. So if you do have privacy concerns, you can mute yourself as well as stop your video, and it'll just show your name. This kind of allows people to kind of know what's going on. Then we have our main speaker. The main speaker, then it's club announcements with and sometimes with classification talks, but we found that a lot of people don't necessarily want their classification talk always out there. I think it's important to allow them to kind of have that flexibility to not do that, because some people just aren't into telling their entire personal life to people they don't know. I mean, they want the club to know, but anybody that sees it, and you do have to kind of give those parameters. So if you are going back into the, the live venue at some point, hopefully we've, have that ability to go into restaurants again or wherever, you should make sure there's a sign or something that says, hey, we're live streaming, we're doing this. And that to me, kind of gives a heads up, and giving the warning before you start. And I can send that warning out to you, the legal thing about, hey, we might record this for Zoom. We are recording this. We might spread this out, just so you know. I think that's important for your members to know. You don't know their history. You don't know their lives. Somebody might have something in their background that they're, like maybe they're escaping a horrible partner or something else. So you don't want them to have to be advertising where they are or what they're doing. But we definitely do cut it off before we have any type of raffle or anything too personal. So those secret moments. But these are great ways to enhance. And one of the links that you'll see that when the email sent out is we did a live stream for joint district meetings, such as when Governor of 5020, Mo Fritz, came to Lacey in 2019, because it allowed more people who were unable to attend a noon meeting to access the meeting. And this is one of the things that I have to harp on, is sometimes by having our meetings at noon, which convenience certain people, or having them at 7 a.m., they always inconvenience somebody else who still wants to be a part. So the best part about digital, the best part about recording it, is you have the ability for people to feel like they can still watch them. Maybe they were sick. Maybe they just can't make that meeting. They have a childcare issue. It allows more people to be part of what you're doing. So, the Mevo Plus, and I want to stress, I do not have any type of, a financial interest in that. And I just, the reason I bring it up is because it passes my grandfather's test. Clifford V. Johnson had a rule, and it said, can I plug it into work? Just can I plug it in and can it work? And that's what this system does. They've actually donated one of their devices to us at Gateway, because they like what we do. But it connects to cellular, Wi-Fi, Ethernet. It connects to all of the Facebooks, the YouTubes. It records the meetings. It has graphics. It has all that stuff. If there is another thing out there, I have not seen it that has been that easy to use. And the thing is, you can drop it and it'll still work. I've proved that a few times. So the main reason that I bring that up is they definitely do the plug and play, which I think is important, because as we get into, it's much like Zoom. Zoom is easy to use for the most part. You can hit record and you can let people in. We have to find tools that are easy to use that allow us to get to the next step of spreading it out. And if you make it to where people, can't get to that level, it's going to be harder and harder. And I just don't want it to where I don't kind of give you a recommendation, but you can choose whatever type of live stream you want. I'm not, telling you to buy it, but I definitely do think it's worked for us. And they have been receptive to the Rotarian message. Like I said, they donated stuff in the past and refurbished ones, and I thought that was cool. Murray, do we have anything thus far? Any comments, any questions?
Yes. What do you do for Android/iOS phone live streams?
Well, that's actually, the Mevo does both. So mine actually goes off of my phone, which is Android, or I can do it off of the iOS iPad, which is why I picked it for functionality. And I looked, because I had before that, I had several types of options. Which would go, because we meet in an Irish pub at Gateway. So they kind of let me do whatever I wanted. And I had, different, live stream cameras set up and a bunch of stuff. And it was just too much of a hassle. The cool thing about what I would say the Mevo is it can record for 10 hours. Its lens is a fisheye lens that goes up to 150 degrees. So I can actually separate it down to make it look like a TV channel, to where I can have different spots and everything else. But, you know, so it's been good. Any other questions?
I missed the name of the live stream. Can you post? I think that you probably just answered that with the Mevo Plus.
Yeah. And, you know, like I said, I'm always on the lookout for new ones. So if there are, you know, and my big thing is technology only fails you when you need it. So, you know, what's good now may not be good 2 years from now, you know, and a company that gets lazy is the company that suddenly gets too much business. As you can see with Zoom, sometimes the second that they, you know, they get a ton of business, then sometimes they become more difficult. Sometimes they come better. Just depends.
And what does Mevo look like?
I actually have one right here. And this is what a Mevo looks like. And I'm going to send out a link so you can see what it looks like. By the way, if you're buying anything, do it through the Amazon Smile so that at least your club gets some credit if you do buy something. The great thing about it is on the back, it also has the ability to put in your Ethernet cable if you need to. You do not need an Ethernet cable for it, but you can also do USB. You can also power it. It also has a little chip in there to record. And it's this. So you can put it at the center of your room, right, you know, right to where the presenter is. And you don't have people that, you know, essentially have a huge obtrusive camera to worry about. I've always enjoyed it. So again, you know, there are many probably options out there. This is the one that I found that hits my grandfather's rule of, can I plug it in and will it work? So that's the what I use.
And what does it cost?
I think that there are different versions. I don't know. I know that this one probably cost about $400, $500, $600. But I know there are other ones that they're putting out that are probably less than that. The only thing I would say is don't buy the version 1. I had a friend that bought the version 1, and this is the version 2, and the version 1 didn't connect as well, and you definitely want the connection points. The good thing is you can bring it out also to different events, and it's waterproof. So let's talk produced videos. And this is an interesting way in which you can engage people that normally don't know what you do. We do homeless backpacks, as I mentioned. That's, you know, where we pack bags. But we also did a Rochester Boys and Girls Club project with several other, you know, Rotary groups. I think it was like 2 other Rotary groups, 3 other Rotary groups that got involved. And we built it for Big Brothers Big Sisters, or Boys and Girls Club. And why that matters is because it hits on a philosophy that I have. No one knows. The amount of people that think that everybody knows what you do is not what you think. And it's because everyone has busy lives, everyone has busy times, etc. You should be continually trying to promote what you do. And, you know, sometimes it's hard because, you know, when you're volunteering, it's like you want to still stay humble, but the problem is that the more humble you are, the less you're going to actually fundraise for your group. We have had a lot of firepower off of these videos because it's drawn a lot of people not only to our club to join, but also to see what our club does, to also donate, gift in kind. We also promote these when we're having our public events. And it shows how people who are getting involved, the work being done in the community. So there are 2 ROs in life. There's ROI, which is return on investment, and then ROE, return on ego. And this is sometimes a return on ego, because if they see themselves being highlighted, you know, it actually creates more participation in some of these events. You see people that are like, well, shoot, I'm going to, you know, it's kind of part of it. And then it's an unfortunate thing, but you have to feed on the fact that you're getting volunteerism. And then sometimes you need to kind of get their sweat equity involved. There will be links that Murray will send out in the email, which will show these so that you can look at them. The great thing about these is you can also do, whether it's live streams during projects, You get, and this was, we had also the Lacey Food Bank. It allows people to even see that there is even a problem that they can help address. These videos gain traction of the local media as well. Folks that didn't know that were a part of a newspaper, hey, they start coming out, they start featuring it. Now it becomes something that they say, well, there's interest here because they see the views, they see the traction, they see the stuff that you're getting, so they want to highlight it as well. And it kind of gains awareness from business community leaders as well as businesses that want to donate and want to sponsor because they want to be a part of something that obviously has enough stuff. Now, there are groups that can do high-end production. I'm not expecting each of you to do it, but this is also a great way to get you to have them join your club in general, because you have business leaders in your club who they want to access for, to do videos for. And so some of the trade-off is that it's a great way for them to show proof of concept, to be able to show that these things can be done. So they show a little sweat equity by going and filming these. They're part of your club. And then suddenly, if you have a few other business leaders that are part of your club, it's a great way for them to connect, which, what's one of the original things with Rotarians is, business networking. So you want Rotarians to benefit Rotarians. And it does give you what you want, which is a bigger advertisement. If you look at some of your, and I mean, I hate to say that of service clubs, but your competitors, they're not doing that. And that's really where, it's a competitive advantage that you do have to take, especially in a time to where, with what we're experiencing now, it's harder to get out in the community and it's harder to show exactly what you do. So if you have the ability to kind of, embrace that, I think it's going to, pay dividends. Murray, do we have any questions?
Yeah, there are quite a few. So I'm just going to read some, but just respond if you're going to talk about it later. So is there a need for clubs to create new positions like the videographer or technical advisor?
Yes. And you know who you put in those positions? People that you recruit who are really good at doing that stuff, who do it for a living, because they won't see it as a problem. I got the communications chair, and when we did our brats, brews, and bands, the first thing I did was find the person that was a really good photographer. So guess what? You're in charge of some of the photography. Hey, there's a person that's really good at video. Guess what? You're in charge of video. That's the best way to recruit people, is to find out what they're good at and then also leave them alone to do things. The problem that a lot of older groups have is that, it's letting go control. And in this type of world, you've got to trust that, they know what they're talking about and they want to create the best thing for your club. So if you have the ability to, the best thing you can do is say, hey, you're really good at this type of stuff, have at it. And as long as they fit within the parameters and, they treat respect to the club itself, with what they do, and it's not, I guess, outside the guidelines of the club, it really should be something that you just, are proud of rather than want to control. It comes back to that return on ego. Return on ego can also hurt you, because if you allow it to be to where you have groups that do not, offer the ability to expand, you're going to contract. One of the things with Gateway, we have Tom Carroll, who's there, who a lot of people know, but we also have a lot of other Rotarians who are older. They never told me what I couldn't do. And that's how we were able to branch out and do so many different things, which have benefited us. Now, I had to stay within the guidelines that everyone has to stay in, but as long as you do that, you should have carte blanche to do whatever you can do well. What other questions do you have, Murray?
So any sort of pro tips on how to get the most out of your pictures and video productions?
First of all, the best thing that I would do is tell you there's a thing called Master's Class. And that is, you'll see filmmakers use it. I think it's about $100 a year. And it has everyone from Ron Howard, who will walk you through all of that type of stuff and different photography. And, even if you want to become a good cook, it has those things, which, or gardening. But the best part is that they have a lot of breakdowns of exactly how to go through shot by shot. And it really kind of gives you what is the not only video or audio, or photo, but also script writing, which I think is important in a certain sense to have a form of understanding what script writing is, because beginning, middle, end. So Jack and Jill went up the hill. I mean, that's a beginning, middle, end when you go through that entire parable. So it's mainly just to understand what's out there and how to be better at it, and then start recruiting people who their best asset is what you need. So if you think of that, movies like the Avengers and all those comic book movies that are out there, when they always have all of them, they always have those people that while they're good together because they have featured assets. One's really good at doing this, one's really good at doing that. They complement each other, but they also allow each other to grow and do what they're going to do. And so one thing I would always recommend is find people that are, if you're going to recruit, find people that are really good at certain things and just let them, have at it. They're going to surprise you and they're going to amaze you at what they can do.
Okay, we have some questions on the cameras you would recommend and the video production software you would recommend. And is your Apple phone good enough?
Apple phone is good enough. I mean, a lot of them are high res. I would use editing wise, Adobe Premiere. Adobe Premiere's, and I mean, you can use iMovie. You can use stuff that kind of goes down a little bit. You don't have to use the highest end software. One thing that you should all look at, they're overseas. It's called Video Husky. And I'll get you that link, Murray, but I mean, you probably find it. But they can actually edit all of the videos for you, unlimited times. You just upload it to them. And I've only used it a few times, but because I can do my own video editing or work with the people that we have. But at the same time, if it's something to where, we don't want to overcomplicate it, right? Because, I don't think my grandfather would have been happy if I would have had it not be able to be plugged in. So it just depends on what you've got and what you're producing. And, people, especially now, if you look, people are really forgiving on content as long as you provide it. If you look at like even CNN right now, they have interviews from people from their homes, interviewing people in their homes, which would have never happened 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 months ago, that are now happening. I think people are really forgiving as long as you're delivering. The one thing I would tell you is focus on lighting and sound. Lighting and sound are key, even more than the video itself. Because if you have bad sound, people won't watch. If you have bad lighting, people won't watch. And that's just kind of the main thing. What other questions do we have, Murray?
I think a lot of them are getting answered, but one was, will Vimeo work also?
Vimeo is actually one of the companies that works well with live streaming. A lot of times I just don't see it gain the traction of YouTube and, kind of the result. So it just depends on whether or not, you might sometimes either be ahead of your audience or the platform may have not reached to where it's gotten to the audience. So one of the other things that we've done, with other methods is, kind of understanding that, live streaming during projects gains awareness. So even if you're not seeing a host, even if you're just seeing the project and it has the name and you see people working like we did at the Lacey Food Bank, it matters. YouTube is, I had actually a stat here. So it's available media, of course, 24/7, and Vimeo can be the same thing. But YouTube's statistic is every 5 seconds, 1 billion minutes is uploaded to YouTube. I mean, that's pretty powerful if you're looking at what it does. And we generate interest off of past meeting videos because people will see them, people will pass them. And it's a great way to kind of get those, videos out there. Hashtags. One of the things that hashtags are great at is promoting what you're doing. I always go with the model of 12 characters or less. We Are Gateway is one that we put that in the header. We put that in the video itself. I want my BBB. BBB is Brats Brews Bands. That's our event itself. We had to cancel this year, of course, because of COVID. But what it does is it gets people to ask exactly what that is, and because they can track those different things. Hashtags are a great way. It must describe you in full. I've done this for personally and privately for political campaigns because it does work. When I worked in sports for about 15 years, those were big things with us. How to develop a hashtag that got people to be kind of engaged and then follow along. Because when they click on it, they can see all the posts that have that hashtag. And when you want to see reach, you see it from the avenue that people are actually using your hashtag without you telling them. Our event has a microsite. I always think if your event if you can spend $8.99 on a domain name a year and put up the stuff, it allows you to reward your sponsors with more digital reach. So when you're talking to your sponsors, they have the ability to see what they're getting. It's that return on ego, but sometimes it's also return on eyeballs, people knowing that they're a part of what you're doing. I think that is a fundamental component of what you do when you're kind of ensuring that your group is, matters in the community, is to be able to show that your sponsors who have aligned with you are part of that as well. Any questions, Murray?
Explain how hashtags work and what is a microsite?
A microsite is a domain with just the information of your event. It is not a big site. It doesn't have 40 different, avenues or directories. It mainly has 3 or 4 buttons. It has the general information, keep it simple, stupid. And it allows you to be able to have people that can go right to that and know the functionality instead of just going to your normal meeting place and trying to find out exactly what your event is. They can see it. You have to think of people the same way that you would think of yourself. You don't have very much time. You only have time for what you think you have time for, right? But if you have a general interest for about 5 seconds, the best thing you can do is give it to them really quick. Everyone loves the big dumb button. Everyone thinks they're more educated than the big dumb button, and they personally don't need the big dumb button until the big dumb button is available, and then they use it. Which is why Staples, is probably smart with that big dumb button that says that was easy, right? Because it allows you to see exactly what you want when you're interested. Because if you have to go around a site, it's just not going to be a thing. Hashtags were created by Twitter, and they've now come over to Facebook and others and Instagram. And what they do is by you having a hashtag, they allow you to describe exactly in a small amount of component what it is that I'm looking at, what it is that I'm aligning with. And when I click on that hashtag, which is always the hashtag symbol plus the words, and I always go with the capitalization of the first word, and if they're a group of words, so it kind of separates it. When they click on that hashtag, it will show them every single post within that hashtag. So it allows them, even if they're not joined on every single site, to see it. So if you have a sponsor that shares that as a post about your event and puts that hashtag in, they will see all the other sponsors, but all of a sudden all the other event things. Why it matters is it allows you to kind of get them to follow along. Sometimes if they've missed a post, if they've missed something else. What other questions do we have, Murray?
Do you have to register your hashtag?
No, hashtags are freedom. Anybody can use them, but usually people don't. So they're always something that's worthwhile. Your domain name, you do. So we did interview videos, and we did these with our club members. And we interviewed several of our club members. We produced one-person answers. They were 10 to 30 seconds. When we sat down with them, we asked probably 4 or 5 questions, so we got a lot of mileage out of them. The whole idea was to show that we are not just worms. You know, we are not just white old Republican men, which is usually the idea that people have. And whether it's you or not, guess what? That's the finger pointing at you. But you know, it is the problem that we have with some of these groups, is that people don't want to align with them because they don't see themselves. Younger women don't want to align with them because they don't see younger women being a part of it, which is not true. You know, people who are like the city manager who's featured in this. We wanted to show that there were people that were part of our group beyond what people thought were part of our group, working professionals, etc. And that's why our club has 125 members and is the fastest growing around, because of the fact that we continue to show exactly what is out there, and that we are more than just a small service group. We have a lot of different people in our community. I love the fact that we have older people in our community. I'm not bashing on that. I just think that it's important to show that you can be young in our community too, and in our club. These are on Facebook Live, and the firepower is that somebody will see them. We have the ability to boost them by putting up more, and your competitors, which are other service clubs, which are going for those memberships, they may not be doing this, and likely are not. And the goal is to drive membership by people seeing community members who they want to be like, who they want to associate with, who they want to network with, who they want to have community awareness with. And I think it's important to kind of outlay the idea that when you show those types of, you know, younger folks that are in your audience, it's going to draw more younger folks who are then going to say, hey, how can I join that? And it's really one of the benefits of having digital, is to be able to aggressively go after people that may be new to your community or may not be aware that your functionality even exists as a club. Underneath each of these in Facebook, we always have the ability, it says info. And why that is because when they can click info for Facebook, it allows them to automatically go and find out about your club. So they don't, it's that click process of being able to have it as quickly as possible to your website, to your membership. We have actually had people that had no affiliation with Rotary come and join, be interested in our group based off of things they saw digitally, things they saw randomly. You are dealing with eyeballs right now. You're dealing with people that are, whether they're on Facebook, Instagram, etc. And everything that I'm saying on Instagram, you can put on Facebook, or Facebook, you can put on Instagram. You can do these things. They're all aligned. They're the same company. But the whole idea is to create a vortex of interest, because you only have 30 seconds to 15 seconds to gain their interest and get them to decide to possibly come at a time when they're available to your club. And that, to me, is one of the best things I can say, is you're in the constant hunt for more membership, because that's the constant hunt for more goodwill and more people that can help in different ways, you know, in your community and through Rotary. What other questions do we have, Murray?
How do you use keywords when posting a video?
The keywords when posting a video, you can do that on the back end. You can do that with YouTube or Vimeo. You don't generally do it with Facebook, but in the back end, when you're setting that up, when you're setting up an actual YouTube site, it will ask you the keywords. And one of the things that I would say to use for keywords are things that you see that impact your community, but also have relevance. So with homeless backpacks, I would put homeless, I would put kids, all as different keywords. I would also put, you know, food as a main one, insecurity, things that you hear, things that ensure that people who are clicking will see it. There are also websites that can help with Google keywords. And so let me see if I can find one of them. There's one that, is Google Keyword Planner, keywordtool.io, which is free. And those are for ads. And you'd go, well, I'm not going to spend on an ad for Google. No, you're not. But here's the difference. YouTube is owned by Google. So they still have they're still ruled by the same nut. They still have to, project and push out those videos at some point. So you have to make sure that, they're working in tandem, so you can put the same words in and they'll probably come up. What other things, Murray?
How do you record the interviews?
Interviews can be recorded. I used our interviews. I used a GoPro camera and a lapel mic, but we've also used some of those groups that we talked about that are also really good at filming, who are in your community, who are probably doing localized digital ads, and you can usually find them just through business networking. We have them down here all the time. They're usually younger people with a camera and know-how and setup. And the best part is that they're trying to show that proof of concept because they know that it'll pay dividends to be in front of your business leaders who might hire them for ads.
Okay, there was a question of, do you agree that Facebook is used mostly by older people and Instagram by younger?
Instagram is mainly used by women, younger women especially. If you look at the statistics, Facebook has probably about age 35 and above, but those are going to be, some of the folks that you're going to get. YouTube is used by people universally. So is Vimeo. And I mean, it just depends on your platform. What I would do is I would look up exactly who uses each platform and see why you want to advertise to them. And not every component is the same. So not every marketing tool is the same. If you feel that young women are going to be who you're trying to advertise to, I would focus on an Instagram, and I would focus on the idea of things that appeal to women that your Rotary Club is doing. We do a book drive each year. And, we do it and same as several other Rotary groups. And the whole idea is we also do Dr. Seuss's birthday. We do things that engage women in that kind of, mindset. So you have to understand that not every group is going to look at a social media platform the same, much as like when you look at diving boards at, those major aquatics universities, they have different diving boards for different heights and different lengths, and it's supported for different people. So there's people that are divers, there are people that are, maybe they're not so divers, I don't know, but it just depends on what you're going for and who you're going for. So I want to talk about how this blends into fundraising. This is a perfect time to overhaul what you do at every single event to really enhance what you do. So every time that you have the ability to post a video, especially on Facebook, add a donation button to your foundation. It allows non-members or members to give $5, $100 per foundation. We've actually found that we get money from people that don't even generally, they're not club affiliates, but they like the presentation, they like what they see, and it allows, it drives up interest based on who sees the live stream, and it keeps engaging interest in your projects. It allows people to see what you do, how they can contribute. Maybe they can't contribute time. Maybe they can't be club members. A lot of, people also who are younger have childcare issues. They can't get up in the morning, or maybe they got business issues. They can't be there at noon. Everything's of course changed because of COVID. And now everyone has more time than they need. But it just allows them to engage interest with your clubs. Why this is important: when you use digital tools like Facebook, it helps them promote your fundraisers more. our Facebook events for brats, brews, and bands. I want to talk about this. When in 2018, I took that over, we established a event page, and it's pretty easy, right? You establish event page. We started inviting people, but we also started the concept of sponsorship co-hosting. All this is in the back end. You add them to a co-host to their page. We also have bands, their page. What happens is when they approve that, it goes into their Facebook fan page as well as an event. It allows their folks to see what you're doing. It becomes the big boulder that goes down the slippery hill. We had a 35,000 person reach without spending any money. And we had 2,500 people that said they were going each of the last 3 years. We paid zero to Facebook in order to do this. Every single year, we had triple our audience from the year before. We went 800. I think we did, like a certain amount. And then we got up to about 3,000 this last year. I guarantee you we would have been way more than that for the next year. But we over promoted by also sharing any of our posts. We would share them into the event itself during the year, because what it does is it grows the interest of those posts, but also the event, and keeps allowing it to be seen in people's feeds. I know this is Facebook centric, but it matters, because it just keeps growing. One of the things that we also did was we started selling tickets online, removing a lot of the burden from club members to sell tickets. One of the issues that I have is that a lot of people will push Paya. They'll push these things. They are not ticket systems in the traditional sense. I don't care if you want to use Eventbrite. I don't care what you want to use, but find one that is actually ticket centric. The reason why is that they will feed into the actual analytics of Facebook. You want to get it to where you're collecting names, addresses, you're collecting all of that information, but you're also collecting data. And when that data comes in and they've bought through that site, it will continue to show them and remarket to them your event. That matters because it keeps enhancing the event. So even if they don't actually buy at that moment, they've clicked through, it keeps remarketing to them. That's remarketing is essentially showing you advertising continuously. So based on your interests. So in 2018, we had 100 online tickets sold. 2019, we had over 1,000 online tickets sold. Here's the thing, coupled with what our club members had done in 2019, we actually sold more tickets in advance for our brats, brews, and bands than we had sold the previous year total. That matters. Now, the other thing is we have the ability with all of those names to go do an extra ask for foundation. We can also send out links to merchandise. We can have concessions. And if they no-show, people already paid. You have some of their money. These are different ways to set them up. I worked, when I mentioned sports, I worked in that ticket component for about 15 years. But if you look at how things are done in the sports world, they collect their money. They collect their things. They try to get you on upsells. They try to get you on more things. There's a reason for that, because people don't necessarily always show up. But once you have their money, it's hard to, not say, hey, it's going for a good cause. Plus, it allowed us, once we sold more tickets, to decide to raise the price of our tickets at the door. And we actually generated, more money than we had previously, and done a lot more stuff. So, these are good fundraising methods. And I would encourage people that are looking at their fundraising, projects or their events for next year, because maybe they got canceled, to look at ways that they can increase ticket sales online, that they can add the amount of things that they can sell in tickets, whether that be merchandise. All it takes is for you to just add a button that says, would you like to buy a t-shirt for $15? And now you know the amount of t-shirts, you know the amount of size, and maybe they buy two. But if you can raise money that way, that's what matters. It's the same with any kind of concessions, beer, anything that you can do that actually sells and increases the amount of money. So, one thing I think I was going to propose, and I think we will for next year, is to propose the idea for BBB. Would you like to become a sponsor of this event for $65 or, $100 or $200? Because we have keg sponsors and we have other sponsors. And anything that you can get, you never know until you ask. You don't know who's buying, and you don't know whether or not they are interested. They might be, and they might not even know that this is a fundraiser. That's one thing, by the way, at our fundraisers, and I know, it's that comes to that no one knows philosophy. A lot of people didn't know really what Brats, Brews, and Bands was. They thought it was, they would come to it, but they thought it was just a general event. They didn't realize it was a fundraiser. So when all of a sudden we had signage out there, which is not digital, but still communications, signage of saying what exactly our event does and where all that money goes, that's 100% of the, the proceeds beyond cost go to, communities, events like homeless backpacks or Together or Boys and Girls Club. It matters because I think you get less of a fight with people thinking that you're just trying to get more money out of them. So, Murray, what other questions do we got?
One of the questions was to talk about Instagram. And I do want to note that there is a session on Instagram at 3:30.
Which is why I didn't want to step on their toes too much. I don't want to, kind of do too much. If you are interested in the Instagram stuff, while I'm happy to chat about it, I mean, that is their entire thing that they're going through. So what I will tell you is that, it grows not only your Instagram, but it also grows your Facebook to be a part of it. You can add videos on there. Keep in mind who's looking at it. Keep in mind why they're looking at it. I would look also, especially if you're going to look at Instagram, if you're looking at people to model after, I would look at people that are selling homes. Real estate folks are really the best at Instagram, especially younger women who are real estate agents. They typically know their audience. They know what their audience needs to see. A lot of times it's that interest, engagement, and implementation that matters. What else, Murray?
So you were talking about the foundation button, and is that a club foundation or the Rotary Foundation?
We use the Club Foundation for some of them, and then I know we use the Rotary International Foundation when it's a shared video from Rotary in general. Mainly because we have an obligation to the Lacey Food Bank that I believe we're trying to make, and every little dollar helps.
Okay. Somebody tried Googling add a button on Facebook without success. So how does someone learn how to add a donate button on Facebook?
You know what? I will send you a link on how to do that. So then that way they can go blow by blow through the process. If that works. Is that okay, Murray?
Yes. Explain the Sponsor Connect that you were talking about. I think it was with the event.
Well, if you're having somebody sponsor your event, you're having them, be a part of your event. You're talking about the online ticket part. All that is a thing that says, for a ticket, says, would you like to donate and be a sponsor? And then, it allows you the different kinds of prices, that they have the ability to be a sponsor at. And then what name would you like?
Actually, I think that was back when you were talking about how to put events on Facebook and then making your sponsor, I think you used the word CoHost.
CoHost. Okay. So in the back of creating the event on Facebook, you will see that I will ask you for your co-host. Who are your co-hosts? And you can add up to 50. What I would do is then type in the name of the actual Facebook page in those co-hosts, if it's a bank, if it's a local pizzeria, whatever it is, and, you know, click enter and they will be notified. And then all they have to do is approve it. And then it will show up on their Facebook page as an event and will allow you to do it. I can also send you a thing on that. There's plenty of YouTube videos, I think, on Facebook co-hosting.
Okay. What do you use for tickets?
Personally, I have my own ticket system that I created because I went and bought it. But you can use Brown Paper Ticket. You can use Eventbrite. You can use anything. The only thing I would stay away from is Ticketmaster or anything that has issues with Facebook in terms of Connect. But if you can find a good ticket system that does a good payout, you know, that's where I would kind of go with. So it just depends on what you want to use, but make sure that they have good integration with Facebook completely.
Okay. Any suggestions on doing raffle tickets online and staying on the right side of the law with that?
You know, the thing is, we cut off with raffle tickets before we do the raffle on our live events because the Washington State gaming laws, they're right like literally, I think 3 blocks from us. We just don't want to kind of get in with that. I feel bad that those are happening, that, you know, maybe it can be a happy dollar. I don't know, but I would, I just would be very, I would make sure you're on the right side of the law, only because that you can get shut down.
Okay. How do you get your Rotary Foundation on Facebook to accept donations?
I can send you a link on that as well. So now I got homework, Murray.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Okay.
That's good though. You know, here's the thing is, as we all do this stuff, you know, you're going to see more and more people ask, what is Rotary? And they're going to have those types of conversations with you. And who better to have those conversations with than the people that have, you know, been good brand ambassadors. And once they're there, my only thing is that I would tell you, the more people that you can invite to a Zoom call, you know, now that you have Zoom and they can always be available, the better it's going to be. Gateway, by the way, has started to induct people who have been part of our Zoom calls for a while, who have gone through the application process. The reason we do that is because we want them to be involved and we want to help our community. That's my email.
Okay.
That's my phone number. If you call me from outside the United States, then let me know and I'll send a Skype so we can chat. I'm always happy to chat this stuff. I really dig it. So I appreciate you for each doing this, because you're going to be growing your clubs and we're going to grow Rotary International together.